Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same.
And welcome to this Friday edition of Pucks Across Borders, your daily NHL betting preview show. And today we're going to do some Super Bowl betting as well. Super Bowl's in a couple days. I know Andre and I, huge football fans. I know Andre covers the sport. We're going to give you the best we can. And you know what? It's a hockey show, but it's a Super Bowl. We both love football, and it's our show. We can do whatever we want. So screw it. Let's talk some football. Later on in the show, 9 games last night, 5 to get into tonight. We've only had 2 shows this week. Both of us have been fighting this stupid sickness all week long. So we got some other stuff across the NHL throughout the week to talk about. But before all of that, as always, Andre, how you doing on a Friday, bro? It's good to see you.
It is great to see you. I'm glad we're both healthy enough and competent enough to do this. So nice to see you. Nice to be back. Finish the week strong. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And we're going to
That's right.
Very strong, just like the Chiefs will on Sunday.
Oh, all right. We'll get into it. So Thursday in the NHL, my phone is losing its mind. The Ottawa Senators lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning 5-1. Score deceiving, very close game, very good game. Tampa Bay broke it open late, 5-1. The Golden Knights beat the Devils 3-1. And opposite of the Ottawa Tampa game, that score is flattering because the Devils were basically a no-show for that contest. The Vegas Golden Knights winning 3-1. The Capitals coming back. What was the score at the time? 3-2. Capitals coming back in the third period, beating the Flyers 4-3. Ovi 16 goals away now from the record. Utah beating Columbus in overtime 3-2. The Wild beating the Hurricanes 2-1. Panthers beating the Blues 3-2. Blues basically now out of it. Braden Shen is now reported to be on the chopping block, and you had it right from the start, man. I don't know if I believed in this team, but I liked this team, and now apparently there's rumors that Jordan Kyrou is on the trading block. They might go just full fire sale here in St. Louis. The Avalanche beat the Flames 4-2. Good thing we didn't have a show yesterday because I really like the Flames in that spot. And Colorado wins 4-2. The Leafs 3-1 in Seattle, beating the Kraken, and the Canucks beating the Sharks 2-1 in overtime on a stupid penalty shot call. Maybe I am mad because it lost me money, and maybe I'm mad because of the integrity of the sport. But either way, Vancouver wins 2-1 in overtime. Patrick Demko, Thatcher Demko, a minute and a half away from 2 straight shutouts. This team has now won 3 in a row, and maybe Vancouver's turn the page a little bit. Will kind of need to see more, but the good thing is Thatcher Demko 3-1 in his last 4 starts, and finally beginning to look like the goaltender that we all know and love. Andre, whether it's from last night or you know what, man, we've talked twice this week. Whether it's last night, something else you want to get into in the NHL, what is your takeaway from either last night in the NHL or the week that was?
Yeah, we haven't really got to talk about this. We tend to highlight when these things happen, unless it's, like the Atlantic, where it's 1 point separation. It's just going to go back and forth every single day. The Edmonton Oilers surpassed the Vegas Golden Knights for first place in the Pacific Division. Vegas, we had talked about for a while, held very strong onto that top spot in the division for most of the season. As the Oilers got off to a slow start, the Kings are the Kings, perpetually good, never good enough. So Vegas was just chilling up there, but they've cooled off. Edmonton started doing what they do. They've won 6 of their last 10, OT loss in there too. And they took first, and they have a game in hand, so they have a 2-point lead plus an extra game. They have higher row, so they have that tiebreaker at least for the moment. Good for Edmonton, obviously, defending Western Conference champion. Again, another one of those slow starts. There's a lot of weird things, not great things going on. We expect more of them, blah, 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 blah. They're still in that position, though. They're still right there. They're still doing their thing. But I think this has more to do with Vegas right now. 3, 4, and 3 in their last 10. It has been absolutely brutal. I was going to say on Thursday. Last night, they did pick up a 3-1 win on the road in Jersey. They end this road trip on Saturday in Boston before, obviously, the break, but they have a lot of home games coming out of that break. But before that, you look at some of these losses, 2-1 against the Islanders, 4-2 against the Rangers. Both of those games, they were either tied or leading late. When I say late, I mean the third period. So kind of let those slip. They lost at home before they even started this road trip. They lost at home to the Jackets 2-1. You should be scoring more than 1 goal against Columbus if you're the home team. I'm going to ignore the 4-3 losses to Dallas because that happens every single time, like you say. And then they had a 4-game losing streak again, late January. And then they had 2 more losses right before that. They had 1 win in between that 4-game losing streak and 2 other losses that were combined 6-1 at home. It's been a really rough. Today's the 7th. This rush patch started on the 9th. So it's basically been a full month of really rough hockey for the Vegas Golden Knights. In that stretch, they only have 4 wins. So they started 28-9-3 before that Islanders game. I guess on January 7th, after beating the Sharks, they were 28-9-3. Now it is February 7th. They're 32-17-6. That's what, 4-8-3? It's not going to get you very far in spring.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of teams that could use a break right now. I think we're going to get to at least 1 or 2 more in a bit. Vegas is definitely one of them. They've let this thing slip all the way. And they're obviously, I think we both feel very comfortable with this team making the playoffs, but that's not their goal. Home ice advantage we talked about should have been in very important for them, especially trying to make it out of the Pacific and the Western Conference. Not a guarantee anymore. The good news, when you make a lot of early deposits, you can afford the withdrawals. The bad news is eventually the tab evens out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And, those 2 games against Dallas, there's a rivalry there that's been brewing over the last few years. Dallas did end up winning both of those games, both 1-score games, both came down to the wire. And so I agree with you. We can kind of remove kind of those games. But yeah, man, I mean, I've said it for weeks, for months, that the more that I watched this team, the more I felt like so for months, because it wouldn't be weeks because of what we just talked about, I felt like Vegas was the pick to come out of the West. I just felt like their depth was better when you compare them to, say, the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, they don't have McDavid. They don't have Draisaitl. That's a big factor. But I trust their goaltending more, or at least the same. Like, I don't think I'd trust Aiden Hill, less than Skinner. But you're right, man. And just the last 10 games, 3, 4, and 3, that 3 makes it look fine. That's 3 and 7. They're not winning hockey games right now, and they needed that win last night. And I think that in a different world, I think we've had this conversation, but not directly had this conversation. Where who would you worry about more, Vegas or the Devils? Because we've had this conversation about the Devils, and I'm going to continue that conversation here in a couple minutes. And last night was like, okay, you two battle it out, like, for real now, because Vegas has not looked very good, and they can't score goals. And even last night, man, like, they got the win. They were the better team. The Devils were awful last night from start to finish. I think what still concerned me about Vegas last night was Jack Eichel got the first goal. He got a couple goals. I think he got 2 goals against the Rangers, right? He got both their goals. He at least got one, but he may have gotten both their goals. So Jack Eichel's doing what he's doing. Their other goal scorers, Nicholas Roy and Shea Theodore last night, both of them getting their 7th goals of the season. So they got the win, and it's good, convincing fashion. Even though the score was only 3-1, it was still convincing if you watch the game. But still, they got 2 goals from 2 guys who they can't be relying on goal scoring from. So I'm right there with you. I think that this break comes at the perfect time for them. And I'm just seeing on Saturday, they play Boston. So that game tomorrow is the last game before the Four Nations. Both teams desperately need a win to feel good about themselves going into the break. I'm right there with you. I think Vegas is just because of what we've seen, because of the pedigree, because of how just this team is just always relevant when it comes to playoff time. And even last year, they lost in the first round, but it was Game 7 against a really good Dallas team. So I think they'll be okay. But it has been a very concerning stretch as of late. Now, going to the team that they beat last night, the New Jersey Devils. You said this, was it a couple weeks ago you said this? And I kind of fluffed it off, just kind of like whatever. You said something about the Devils going down to a wild card spot. Now, I think, or being at risk of dropping down to a wild card spot. Now, I think that because of the teams chasing them, it might not seem that big of a risk right now. They have 66 points. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. But dude, like, the games that they've lost, they've sucked. Like, they haven't even looked remotely good. And they have 66 points right now. Columbus, 60 points. The Islanders, 57. Rangers, 56. Thanks, Shay. My wonderful wife bringing me some water. The Columbus Blue Jackets, 60 points. Islanders, 57. Rangers, 56. That's in the division. So they are anywhere between 10 points and 6 points up on the teams chasing them for the division. So it's not awful. They play Montreal tomorrow, and I love Montreal. They've completely fallen off the map in the last couple weeks here. So that's a must win in Montreal tomorrow going into the break. Columbus, just want to see that I get this right. Columbus tomorrow plays the Rangers. So that becomes a really important game between those two teams. So, and then the Islanders play tonight and tomorrow. So there is a world where the Islanders beat the Jets tonight, and then the Islanders beat the Wild tomorrow, and they're only 2 points back. Maybe I have that wrong. What's the standings here? Okay, then they're 5 points back of the Devils if the Devils lose tomorrow. So we keep talking about the Eastern Conference. We keep talking about specifically the Atlantic. I thought that the Lightning, winning back-to-back against Ottawa, that was huge, because now Tampa Bay jumps back up into the 3rd spot in the division with 62 points, and Ottawa, Detroit, they're right there in the last 2 wildcard spots. But Columbus, Boston, Islanders, Rangers are right on their heels. So a huge 2 back-to-back wins for the Lightning over Ottawa. And so I just find this extremely fascinating, continuing to be extremely fascinating in the Eastern Conference into the Four Nations break. And just honorable mention, Colorado with the win last night. They're 5 points up on Vancouver. Vancouver is the second wild card. So the Avalanche are 7 points up on the Calgary Flames on the outside looking in. And they are 2 points back of the Minnesota Wild, who are third place in the division, 1 point back of the Dallas Stars. So the Kings, as you mentioned very briefly, the Kings, 62 points, and they could find themselves not outside of the playoffs, excuse me, but they could find themselves all the way in the second wildcard spot by the time this weekend is over, heading into the Four Nations break.
Yeah, the one saving grace, I guess they have two saving graces. If you're talking about the Kings, one, they have fewer games played than everybody, and Nashville is the only team that it's a singular game.
That's true.
The other thing being they've played fewer home games than anybody, and they're 16-3-1 at home. They've been the best home team so far this season. So, yes, LA, they hit a really, really rough patch. They slid. They kind of opened the door for Vancouver to take that spot. At the same time, I'm not really worried about the Kings. They did what they were supposed to do these last two games. Obviously, tonight's a huge test, but they wrap it up tomorrow night in a game that should, again, be a win at home. And then when the break is over, it's another homestand. They should be fine looking at just their next five, the last of which is against Vancouver. Could be a huge game. Nationally televised at that. They should win three of those. They'll probably win four. And if they beat Dallas tonight, there's no reason they can't beat five. So I'm not too worried about the Kings, even though I guess the points do say that, yeah, they're out of breathing room. The Devils, I think you hit the nail on the head. The reason that the alarm isn't blasting, blaring, going through every household on the continent is because the teams chasing them, they started too far back, for one. And for two, the team chasing them kind of, especially with the Rangers and Jackets about to play, they're stomping on each other's feet a little bit. You know, they're all trying to climb into a wild card spot. They're all just trying to play. They all have to play each other and get those points. That's going to help Jersey in the long run, because every time the Rangers play the Jackets, every time the Islanders play the Jackets, every time the Rangers play the Islanders, it's just a night where, unless it goes to OT, the Devils are fine. Specifically looking at the Rangers, they've only played both teams once. The Islanders and the Jackets have played twice, so there's more matchups ahead, and those are the three teams that realistically can't catch them. But Markstrom's not coming back till mid-March. The Devils are fortunate that there's 2 weeks of no games, so that's time where his absence isn't hurting them as much. But there have been cracks in this team since late December. Like Vegas, the Devils need a break. They need to regroup. They need to figure it out, because they are not playing consistently strong hockey. They're not playing inspiring hockey whatsoever. Yesterday's loss, especially at home, especially against a Vegas team that can't really do anything right themselves right now,
Yeah.
it's pretty embarrassing. They went to Buffalo and lost at the beginning of the month. I know it was only by 1 goal. It's the Buffalo Sabres. If there's one team in the Eastern Conference that every single person, every team except maybe the Flyers, when they see Buffalo in their schedule, they have to make it 2 points. That's just the bottom line right now.
Yes.
And Jersey didn't make that happen. Speaking of the Flyers, the Flyers beat them 4-2 not too long ago either. The Flyers beat them twice in January, actually, in 3 matchups. So they're not playing well. They're not being the teams they're supposed to be. This has been going on since a little bit after Christmas, that back-to-back against Carolina, something broke. Something happened on the team flight. I'm trying to tell you. And hopefully, for their sake, the break gets them back together because they open with Dallas and then they have a road trip. That will not be fun because it's a West Coaster.
Well, and I mean, we've talked about, because I know obviously Markstrom's been out, and that's a big deal. Hasn't Jake Allen, I should know this off the top of my head, but hasn't he been hurt as well?
You talking about currently?
Yeah.
No, he started last night. He took the loss last night.
Okay, he started last night. Okay.
And the Sabres game I'm going to keep bringing up.
So I like Jake Allen. I think he's a fine goaltender. He's not Jacob Markstrom. You got to score goals. Like this team, and one of the big reasons why they love Sheldon Keefe was, say what you want about Sheldon Keefe during the playoffs, his team always scored goals. And I know that they had Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares and blah, 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 but you got really good goal scorers on your team as well, starting with Jack Hughes. 1 goal last night, 2 goals against Pittsburgh. You got the 3 from the shootout. That doesn't count. You got 2 goals in regulation and overtime against Pittsburgh. 3 goals against Buffalo. And let me just bring this back up. Yes, you got 5 goals against Philly, but you got 2 goals against Philly before that. You got the 4 goals against Montreal. You got the 5 goals against Boston, but then 1 goal, 3 goals, 1 goal, 3 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals, 0 goals. Like that's what they've been doing, is not scoring goals. And if your starting goaltender is out of the lineup, you have to score goals. And we're talking 4-5 goals a night. And I know that's hard to do in the NHL. I get it, but they just have to. Like, that's just what they have to do. And they didn't need 5 goals, right, last night. They needed 4. They didn't need 5 goals against Pittsburgh, right? They needed 3, and they eventually got the 3rd in the shutout. I understand. You didn't need... Well, actually, you did need 5 goals against Buffalo, but you get my point. Like, this team is supposed to be a high-scoring team, and they're just not doing it, and they haven't been doing it for a month. And you scored 5 goals against Pittsburgh. Congratulations. Every team in the league scored 5 goals against Pittsburgh. You scored 5 goals against the Flyers. Good for you. It's the Flyers. The Flyers, like, they could win 2-0, or they could lose 7-2. That's just how the Flyers roll. So, and I understand. I think the more that we're talking about it, dude, and the more that, like, I'm actually getting more concerned the more we talk about it, because the Islanders, listen, man, you and I, nobody hates the Islanders more than you. And nobody, it's not that I hate the Islanders, just as a hockey fan, I got really close friends who love the Islanders. Like, I have nothing against the Islanders, but they're just boring. Like, as a hockey content nerd, somebody who wants to be entertained, I just find the Islanders not compelling. Full disclosure, I joining the hockey writers, I had the opportunity to write about the Islanders, and I turned it down because I just don't want to watch them every night. Now, there are awesome writers for the hockey writers who cover the Islanders and do a great job. They're doing the Lord's work, because I could not watch the Islanders every night. That being said, dude, Sorokin's on a heater right now. And this team, they're just continuing to win games. And it's going to be really interesting, because I also cover the Jets. And I got to watch the Jets, ironically enough, play the Islanders tonight. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see what the Islanders do in Winnipeg. That team is not slowing down. Like, they look really good, and their goaltending, Sorokin, is finally making his money. Well, I mean, he's always made his money, but now he's actually worth his money. And then you go to the Rangers, and it's the New York Rangers. Now, time is of the essence. They have to keep, going. They can't afford to lose 3-4 games in a row again. But the Rangers are the Rangers. They have pedigree, and it seems like JT Miller has given them a little shot in the arm. So You have them. Then you have Columbus, where out of all the teams that I just spoke about, Columbus has the most points out of the Rangers and the Islanders. I think the problem for the Columbus Blue Jackets is their injuries just keep racking up. But this Blue Jackets team is still a very good, they're a good hockey team. And I don't think that they're just going to go away. Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to miss? I don't know, but I don't think they're going to disappear. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to be like the Blues and like Utah, who have just kind of fallen off the face of the earth over the last couple of weeks. Although Utah has a couple wins under their belt here. But so to me, if you're the Devils, you don't really have the luxury of just, cruising to the finish line, because I like the Islanders, Rangers, and the Blue Jackets' chances of catching up if the Devils keep losing. So that's going to be really interesting to see moving forward.
Yeah. I just want to clear the air. I don't hate the Islanders more than anybody on this, but I'm sure there are people that hate the Islanders more than me. I just have absolutely no respect for that organization whatsoever. Just to be clear, I hate the Devils. I don't respect the Islanders. Fair. But no, and all Sorokin is earning his money right now. And they genuinely, I mean, they did this last year. They just look like a team that's not going to slow down until they get to the first round of the playoffs and realize they're not built for it. The Devils, on the other hand, though, this break genuinely might save their season, because if they did not have this break, you're looking at another 2 weeks without Markstrom in net. That's another, 7 games probably, right? 8 games.
Yeah.
The way they're going right now, the way they're not scoring right now, no breaks, no starting goalie. I don't know their schedule offhand. I know they have, obviously I just looked at, they go to Dallas, Vegas, Colorado all in a short stretch. So they have a good amount of road games left against tough teams. What would they do without this break? We'd probably come back on, I guess not come back, but we'd probably sit here on February 24th and we'd look at the standings, and the New Jersey Devils without this break would probably be switched with the Columbus Blue Jackets or the New York Islanders or the New York Rangers, because the way they are playing right now compared to those teams, and Columbus isn't even playing that great right now.
No.
But they look way worse than all of those teams.
Yes, they do.
And I just put away their schedule, so I don't have it offhand, but I know for a fact they lost to the Rangers during this stretch when the Rangers were god-awful. I feel pretty confident they lost to the Sharks during this stretch, if I remember correctly, and the Ducks. And I just talked about, they lost to the Flyers multiple times and the Sabres. I think they lost to the Bruins too. Those are games playoff teams should win, especially with the way all of those teams I just mentioned, maybe except for Anaheim, have been rolling or were playing at the time of that performance. I don't think I'm as worried about them as you, which is ironic because I'm the one that started this whole thing. But but this break that's coming for them tomorrow and the amount of points they racked up early, absolute godsends, because if they had to play for another 2 weeks like this in the dirt, just absolutely in the dirt.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really interesting because this 2 week break that's coming up, we haven't had something like this in a while, because players from the NHL haven't played in the Olympics in a decade. So we don't really know what these teams are going to look like when they come back. Is it going to take a while for certain teams to get ramped up? Is it going to take no time at all for other teams to just keep on trucking along? And the answer is yes. There are going to be teams that are going to have a hard time and other teams that are going to have no problem at all, but we don't really know who those teams are. It's just, we don't really know what's going to happen after a break like this. Is it good to have players playing in the Four Nations So when they come back, they've still got their groove, they're still playing, or is it better for everybody, like the Washington Capitals have 0 players playing on the Four Nations? They can just rest the whole time, recuperate, and get back at her in a couple weeks. We don't really know. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. I just wanted one last kind of thing on the Islanders. We were talking about how the Devils they have to score 4 or 5 goals every single night right now, and it's just not like working that way. I've been impressed with the Islanders just being able to win anyway. Like they won 2-1 against Vegas the other night. They lost to Florida 6-3. There's no shame in that. And I'm just like working backwards here. You beat Philly 3-0. You beat Colorado 5-2. You beat Carolina 3-2, Philly 3-1, Columbus 3-1, San Jose 4-1. You lost to Philly 5-3. You lost to Ottawa 2-0. You beat Utah 2-1, beat Vegas 4-0, beat Boston 5-4, lose to Toronto 2-1. Like they're just finding ways to win games any way that they need to. And I don't know, man, it's terrifying. I don't know. I can't say I can't let those words come out of my mouth quite yet, but the way that they're winning is quite remarkable. And this game tonight against the Jets is going to be really interesting. I'm really interested to see it.
Yeah. And you named a lot of 2s and 1s in that stretch. That's going to get you at least 1 point most nights. So, I mean, that's the bottom line.
Sorry, with the Islanders, though, I mean, Andre, you know this full well. The fact that they were able to win games 5-4 is just as remarkable, because winning games 2-1 is how they win games. Like that's just how, like, just boring 2-1 hockey. That's how they have been winning for years. Or they lose in overtime, like 20 times in a single season. And the fact that they're able to score 5 goals, 4 goals when they need to has like really caught my eye.
Yeah, only 7 OT losses so far.
Yeah, not bad.
Turnaround for them. Like Vancouver kind of took their spot with 11, but just like last year's Islanders has them in a playoff spot right now.
Not bad at all. All right. Moving on, we got 5 games in the NHL tonight. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that kind of caught your eye over this last week? We haven't spoken too much. I'm trying to think. I mean, Vancouver signed Peterson to a 6-year contract, and I don't understand really. Like, he's a good defenseman, but you sign a player for 5 minutes and sign him to 6 years. Hopefully that works out. You would think that they had their eye on him anyway, and they were able to land him and make the deal. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that kind of caught my eye. I thought that win for Toronto last night was huge. They didn't look particularly great doing it, but Toronto's just been, I think, and again, I don't have this right in front of me, so you'd have to fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure that Toronto has won 3 and lost 3 like 4 times in a row. Like, I'm pretty sure that they win 3, lose 3, win 3, lose 3, win 3, lose 3, win 3. Or that wasn't quite 4 in a row, but you know what I mean. I lost track halfway through that.
I got you. So they've won 3. They lost 3 before that. They won 3 before that. They lost 3 before that. They won 5 before that.
Ooh.
Loss, win, 2 losses, 3 wins, and then, kind of money's out.
Okay, so 4 times is a bit of a stretch, but it's basically been their
win, loss, win, loss. Or I guess 3, 3, 3, 3. It was 4.
Oh, okay. Well, look at me go.
Right on the
look at me go. Super smart. So for them. Oh,
no, go ahead. Finish about the Leafs. I had something to say. Go ahead.
No. Just like to finish up that it was pretty doom and gloom here heading into this road trip in Toronto, and they get these 3 wins. Now they play Vancouver tomorrow at 7:00 EST, because Toronto's the most important team in the league. And if they beat Vancouver tomorrow night, which granted, Vancouver's been looking better. If they beat Vancouver tomorrow night, they go into the break on a 4-game winning streak. Stolarz came back last night, and he looked phenomenal, kept the team in it, especially in the first period. That was huge for him to get a game under his belt before the Four Nations. Now they are 1 point back of the Florida Panthers for the division lead. I have maintained the thought that it's really important for them to win the division. You've heard me say this like a million times. I still think that, except we're not too sure what the third spot in the Metro is going to be, because right now Tampa Bay has 62 points, Ottawa has 62, Detroit has 61. So if Toronto slips down to second and Ottawa or Detroit is waiting for you in that third spot, I'm fine with that. It worked out for you this year. But in years past, Boston and Tampa were both not at the height of their powers, but both still good teams. They should have won last year. I digress. I still think they can beat Tampa Bay and Boston in a playoff series. I just think, as far as like this year goes, I'm not even convinced that like Boston makes it to the playoffs. But if they do, it'll be in that wild card or third spot, just because no one's really pulling away with it yet. I just think doesn't matter how bad Boston or Tampa is. Just don't play them. Just avoid it. Play someone else and see what happens. But really encouraged about Stolarz' play last night. Really encouraged by the 3-game winning streak heading into the break. Hopefully making it for tomorrow. Florida, just double checking this here. Florida plays Ottawa tomorrow. Speaking of which, so either way that game goes, you kind of need to win tomorrow night, because Ottawa, they're only 6 points back of you right now. So whether Ottawa wins, whether Florida wins, it's important for you to get those final 2 points heading into the final stretch. Before I forget, I had the privilege of joining the boys in Checking From Behind on their podcast, talking Dallas Stars, talking about their season, the trade that was made last weekend, Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston's incredible turnaround halfway through the season. We talked about a lot of stuff, Dallas Stars, and some other things as well. So check out Checking From Behind, where you can watch and or listen. Or listen. I don't know if you want to watch and watch it once and listen to it later, unless you really love the content. But so check that out. Checking From Behind. Had a blast with those dudes doing that. And the host, Zach. Oh man, I shouldn't even try. Zach Berta, I believe his name is. He writes excellent Buffalo Sabres content for the Hockey Writers. So check that out as well. No offense, Zach. You're a great guy, great podcast host, great writer. Do you want to read about the Buffalo Sabres right now? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with you. You're great at what you do. Buffalo Sabres, I'm not sure. All right. Before we move on, anything else?
The NHL players poll that came out on Wednesday. So
okay,
we can come back and revisit on Monday. But yeah, NHL player poll by The Athletic. There's some really funny bits in there. Some things to talk about whenever it comes to coaches, arenas, Gary Bettman. So yeah, everybody go check that out. Mark, if you haven't yet, go check that out. We can revisit on Monday.
I have not, and we'll need something to talk about Monday because there's no games until Wednesday. Because if memory is correct, there's no games. There's 2 games on Sunday, and that's it. So, Four Nations time. So, we'll need something to talk about for sure. All right, moving on. 5 games in the NHL to talk about, and then we're going to get to our NFL Super Bowl picks. Can't wait for that as well. I keep forgetting to do this off the top of the show, so I'm going to do it now. Don't forget. Pucks Across Borders, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off, tons and tons of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. That means up to 60% off selected cards in the First Round Collectibles store with our promo code Sports Addict. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. Maybe a little Patty Mahomes card ahead of the Super Bowl. Maybe Jalen Hurts ahead of the Super Bowl. Lots to choose from: football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever you want. I promise you they got it. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code for Sports Addict for 10% off your order. Also brought to you by Total Apex Sports. TotalApexSports.com. They got you covered heading into Super Bowl weekend. Props, daily fantasy, or DFS as it is called, and just overall football content. Also, crazy busy week in the NBA since the NBA moved the trade deadline to Super Bowl week in revenge for the NFL taking over Christmas Day. Huh? A little conspiracy. So they got lots of great content going on over there. There's baseball signings. So TotalApexSports.com, they will have you covered. And of course, they have us on board their X channel live. We appreciate that as well. All right. Starting off the Friday night slate, your boys, the New York Rangers, hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bringing this up, making sure we got this right. The Rangers was minus 225, now minus 230 on the money line. It's now back to minus 225, right in front of my eyes. Plus 184, though, are the Penguins on the road. The Sidney Crosby-less Pittsburgh Penguins, minus 1.5 for the Rangers was plus 118, plus 1.5 for the Penguins, minus 144. The over, 5.5, minus 122, and the under is plus 100. I could have this wrong. I'm sure I heard today on the radio, this is the first game Crosby has missed since the 2022 playoffs or 2021 playoffs. That's what I've heard, which doesn't sound right, but if it's right, that's pretty remarkable.
So I know he missed a game for sure in 22 with like a concussion in the playoffs.
Yes.
Was that was really the last time?
That's what I heard today. I don't know for sure. I don't really fact check. I just hear things and regurgitate them as my own. I'm not sure.
It's kind of crazy. Impressive for the old man. I think he just wanted an early break, though. I don't really think he's hurt. He was just like, yeah, Canada's more important to me at this point in my career. For this game, I've seen a lot of hyperbolic things about the Rangers, especially after that win over the Bruins. They're back. It's, they're going all the way and, biggest win of the season and blah, 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 blah. Let's pump the brakes. That being said, they are playing better. And they've owned this Pittsburgh team of late. They've won 6 of the last 7 meetings. 5 of those wins were by multiple goals. 3 of them were shutout wins. 2 games this year where they beat them by multiple goals, 6-0 in Pittsburgh, 4-2 in the Garden. Scoring against the Penguins is not really an issue, and the Rangers have been scoring pretty consistently lately, save for that Carolina game. A lot of 3s, a lot of 4s, a lot of 5s in their recent game log. Look at the defense. It's been tighter. Igor is playing better. For the first time in a long time, I'm going with the Rangers puck line here. I'm going to take the minus 1.5. It kind of scares me. It feels like I'm just setting myself up for failure. But the numbers just point that way. And the Penguins, inconsistent as ever. They had a recent road trip, and they ended it with an OT win in Utah. But before that, they lost to the Sharks, Kraken, and Ducks all in a row. The aggregate from those games was 11-3. They were outscored. So that just goes to show you how they've been lately, especially on the road.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. For for better or for worse, and I'm not talking about making it to the playoffs. I'm just talking about, game by game basis. If Sidney Crosby is around, and against the Rangers have been playing a lot better lately, still not out of the woods. When Crosby's on the ice, I tend to hesitate on these puck lines just because of Crosby, even at this state, like of this stage of his career, still produces at a very high volume. But he's not on the ice tonight, and they have no savior. And if he's not, he just finds a way to make things work on the nights where he makes things work. You know what I mean? Like, it's not every night, clearly, based on the standings. But with him out of the lineup, I think this is a -118. At first, I didn't realize he was out, and I saw the odds, and I was like, ooh, that seems extreme, but I think this is about right. I'm taking -1.5 as well. I just wanted to go over a couple things, Andre. I took a few notes. Based on your Rangers, they're 6-3-1 their last 10 games. In January, 8-3-3. 19 points in January. In February, they're 2-1 with 4 points. 19 plus 4 equals 23. I don't know if you knew that. 23 points. 19 plus 3, 23 points in January and in 3 games in February. October, November, December combined, they had 23 points. So, which is not correct. Now that I say it out of my mouth, that's not correct.
Yeah, it's 33.
33. Okay, fine.
Still close enough.
Yeah, 33 points. That's what I meant, obviously. So, regardless, they had a month and 3 games. They had 23 points. And in the first 3 months of the season, they had 33. So I think that just speaks to the type of turnaround that they really have had. Their power play in January and February. January, 25.8%, and in February, 37.5%. In just 3 games, that's still a very high quantity. So this team really, really turning it around. And I think you look at the standings and we watch these games, and it just kind of goes under the radar just how good this team has actually been over the last month and 3 games. So shout out to them. I am right there with you. The -1.5 for the Rangers. Moving on to the Winnipeg Jets at home against the New York Islanders. Islanders +162 on the money line. The Jets -196. -1.5 for Winnipeg is +134. +1.5 for the Islanders, -164. The over 5.5 +100, and the under is -122. What do you got? Islanders, Jets. I think these odds, I understand it based on the season as a whole, but based on how the Islanders have been playing, like only getting Winnipeg at -1, like +134 for -1.5. I feel like that number should be higher right now, man. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I'm kind of just avoiding the side here, primarily because I don't like the odds for anything. I don't trust Winnipeg's puck line enough. I don't trust that 60-minute line enough. Can't take that money line alone. Islanders +1.5, not good enough. I don't think the Islanders are going to win. I could see a world where they do win, and it's very competitive, though. Or it's very competitive. So I don't really like a side for this one. I do love the under. We talked about at length the Islanders earlier, but just to reiterate, in this however many games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 game stretch of theirs, they've only allowed one team to score more than 2 goals, and it was the defending champs. You can stretch back even further to 13 games, and only one other team has scored more than 2 goals than the Islanders. They're just keeping pucks out of their own net. And obviously the Jets allow the fewest goals per game. They just shut out the Carolina Hurricanes. They're at home, where everything they do just becomes so much better. 59 goals allowed in 29 games. That's barely 2 per game. So I like the under 5.5 here, and at minus 118, I think it's really good value relative to some of the other 5.5s we get.
Yeah, once again, I'm right there with you. My at the under, I lean Winnipeg minus 1.5. This game to me screams 2-1, empty netter 3-1. That's how this game feels to me. So I lean Winnipeg minus 1.5 at the plus 134, but I would say that the under is my favorite bet from this game. I'm 100% with you. The only thing that scares me about this under, the only thing, is that this may be one of the most obvious unders that I have seen in a long time, and it's only minus 122. I think that's the one thing that kind of terrifies me a little bit, is minus 122 for two of the best goaltenders going right now. One of the best, goaltenders going always. So this should not be minus 122 in my opinion. I know it's only 5.5. But these two goaltenders are red hot right now, and I feel like the odds should be worse than they are. So that's the one thing that kind of scares me away from it a little bit, but that is my favorite bet of this game as well. We have 3 games left, and 2 of them are amazing, in my opinion. And they are sandwiched right in the middle. And I wouldn't say Rangers-Pittsburgh is amazing, but it's a very important game. 2 rivals. It's a good game. The Islanders Winnipeg, very good hockey game. Colorado Edmonton speaks for itself. Dallas Kings to top it off. Great late card. Great. 10:40 sucks, but fine. Sandwiched in the middle of all of that amazingness is this Nashville Chicago. And I'm so sick of seeing the Predators minus 190 or higher favorites. Like, I'm so sick of it. Like, what? I don't understand. Minus 205 Nashville in Chicago. Chicago's plus 168. Minus 1.5 for the Blackhawks is minus 152. Minus 1.5 for the Predators, plus 124. Over 6.5 is plus 116. Under is minus 142. I am not taking a side in this game. I'm not touching it at all. However, the reason why I'm not taking anything in this game, and again, I'm not wasting time breaking down analytics between Nashville and Chicago. I know we're here to make money. Quite frankly, both of these teams are very inconsistent when it comes to the prop market, and you can find props for this somewhere else. Covers.com, I'm sure, has wonderful props on this game. I have no idea. All I'm going to say is I want to take Chicago plus 168 with every bone in my body, sheerly based on spite, and I don't think that's how you should gamble. So I'm not doing it, and I'm staying away. But I just seeing Nashville minus 205 favorites. What am I missing? Like, what is so much better about them than Chicago? Like, I don't know, man. Like, you're about to tell me maybe, but I look at the standings. 18-27-7 are Nashville. 16-31-6 are the Blackhawks. On the road, which Nashville is, they're 6-17-4. 10-14-3 are Chicago at home, but even on the road, they have almost the identical record. Sure, Nashville's 5-5 in the last 10 games, but those 5 losses have all been in a row. My last point here. Let me just see. Sorry, bringing this up. Power play, 15th in the league for Nashville, 9th in the league is the Blackhawks, 81.4% penalty kill, 11th in the league for Chicago, 82.2 is 8th for Nashville. Goals for, Nashville's 29th, Chicago's 31st, goals against, 25th, 30th. What am I missing here? Both these teams suck. Why is Nashville minus 205? I took way too long talking about this game, but it just makes me mad.
Yeah, you really did. Nashville's favored because Chicago is one of the two teams they're ahead of in the standings, and they've won 6 in a row against the Blackhawks. But all good things come to an end, and so will that streak. Chicago, they've been better at home all season long. I like them in this spot. I know these are two bad teams. You don't really trust them. You don't really take them, blah, 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 blah. Nashville's god-awful on the road. They average 2.15 goals per game, fewest in the league, 296 points percentage, like you said, with that 6-7-14 record. 6-21, if you want to just be straight up on the wins and losses, because what's going to happen tonight is they're going to lose again. Blackhawks are overdue for a win. They tend to win at home. I mean, realistically, they're overdue for a home win at that. Because that's where they've been a lot tougher this season. So I'm taking Chicago money line as well. I'm taking Chicago first goal because that's always the play. But my favorite pick from this and the play that I genuinely do enjoy is the under. 7 of the last 8 meetings finished under the total. The lone exception that finished with more than 6 goals, it required a shootout. So these teams aren't really lighting the lamp against each other. You obviously look at the production this season. I just told you Nashville, 2.15 goals per game on the road, the fewest in the NHL. The Blackhawks overall, 2.58 goals per game, the second fewest in the league. This isn't going to be an offensive showcase by any means. They've played each other twice this season. Both games ended 3-2. One of them was 3-2 because of a shootout. So don't expect much offensively. Take the under 6. I really like it. I think the Blackhawks are going to come out on top this time, though.
Yeah, I do think that's a good play. See, we need you reasonable, rational. I'm just too blinded by the minus 205, just infuriating me. We needed that. So great job. Probably spoke. I don't know. Let's just pretend that we spoke 5 minutes about this game. That's 4 minutes and 59 seconds too long. So moving on to the Colorado Avalanche in Edmonton. The Avalanche plus 152 now. Money coming in on the Oilers was minus 178. It's now minus 184. Minus 1.5 for Edmonton, plus 132. Plus 1.5 for the Avalanche, minus 162. The over 5.5 is minus 120, and the under is minus 102. What do you got here, bro? Colorado, Edmonton. Colorado played last night. What do you got here?
Yeah, back-to-back. Had to travel in Alberta. It's a tough spot for the Colorado Avalanche on top of the fact that Edmonton's beat them twice this year, 4-1 and 4-3, both games in Denver. And then the Oilers playing much better lately, won 5 of their last 7, or I guess they're 5-1-1 in their last 7 to be more specific. The regulation loss was against the Maple Leafs, really good team. The shootout loss was against the Red Hot Red Wings. So they're playing pretty well. Granted, there's some overtimes in there recently against the Blues and the Blackhawks. Those are games you should probably dominate. But they're back home. They're rested. They've had Colorado's number this year. Specifically, they've scored 4 goals against Colorado twice this year. I think with the circumstances, with Edmonton, you look at their recent stretch, they're not really allowing teams to score more than 3 goals. I feel comfortable saying that the Oilers are going to come out on top here. I'm going to take the 60-minute line instead of the puck line. I feel safer saying this is a 4-3 regulation win than saying this is like a 4-2 or a 5-3 win for Edmonton. But I do like the Oilers to come out on top, and I do like the over 6.5.
Yeah, I'll probably lean away from the 60-minute line, but I like the over here as well. I know Colorado won last night. We haven't really talked about this as much. We talked about other things. I am and my phone isn't loading things up here for me right now, but I am kind of concerned about the Avalanche, if we're being honest. I know that they won last night, and Nikish has fit in pretty well on that top line. This is no disrespect to him. You have Nathan McKinnon up there with you, and Makar on the back end. You're going to fit in okay. 5-4-1 in the last 10 games. They're as top heavy gets. And I haven't looked at the numbers. It feels way more, because this was a concern that we had about Colorado heading into the playoffs last year. And it's one of the reasons why they lost to Dallas in the second round. I think it's worse this year. Like, I know you're top heavy, but you have McKinnon, you have McCarr. It's all good. I don't know, man. This team concerns me, like, moving forward. I don't think they can be done. I don't know what else they can do. I don't know cap implications and all that stuff. I'm worried about the top heaviness of this team. Not that Edmonton's not as top heavy, but obviously we know, what they have. But maybe that's the conversation for another day. But I am genuinely concerned about this Colorado team. I do like the over here, 6.5 as well at -120. Moving on to the last game of the night, Dallas in LA. Dallas was -118. They are now -114. The Kings -105. -1.5 for the Stars is +220. +1.5 for the Kings is -280. The over 5.5 at +100. The under is -122. Dallas, one of, if not the hottest team since Christmas. Jason Robertson, 28 points in the first 3 months of the season, 21 points in January alone. Just having a phenomenal start to 2025. Wyatt Johnston's really been picking it up as well. That, we never talked about this because we weren't on yesterday. I believe it was Wednesday night that game was. Or was it Tuesday? Whatever. The night they played Anaheim, we never talked about this. That was one of the worst games that I have seen Dallas play in a long, long time. Like, Anaheim won it 2-1. It was right there for the Stars in the third period. That was an awful hockey game from Dallas. They just looked disjointed. Their passes were all over the place. They did not look together. They did not look on the same page at all. And I expect that to completely flip tonight, just because that game was so bad. And I know that the Kings are a better team than the Ducks are, clearly. Ottinger is back in net tonight. Big Save Dave is in net for the Los Angeles Kings. I expect the Stars to come out tonight and play one of their better hockey games of the year, just based on how awful they played on whatever night it was against the Anaheim Ducks. For that, I'm just taking the money line. I think -114, good value. The fact that they're favored in this game is actually a little bit surprising. Nothing to do with the Stars, just because the Kings are a good team and they're at home. But I think that just speaks to how well the Stars have been playing over the last month and a half. So I'm taking Dallas on the money line here. I also love. Where are we here? Wyatt Johnston to record a point is -125. I think that's terrific value. He is on the power play. He is also on the top two lines. Constantly, he has done great things over the last month and a half as well. The power play, we talked about this. I've written about this. We've spoken about this. The power play for Dallas has been absolutely abysmal. In 2025, their power play is up to 32%. And it has been playing really, really well over the course of this 2025. So I love Wyatt Johnston. 1 point at -125. That's my favorite bet of this game. I even like it more than the money line. I mean, the money line is my pick, and I do love that money line pick. But I also think I just think he's going to get a point. It can be an assist, can be a goal, it can be whatever. And so I really like that. If we're going to get a little bit spicier, where are we here? I had it pulled up. My apologies. I'm looking. My apologies. I know that we're live. Oh, here we go. Jason Robertson plus 300 for a power play point. Wyatt Johnston plus 320 for a power play point. Matt Duchene plus 370 for a power play point. Rope Hintz plus 400 for a power play point. All those guys are on the top unit. So I like any of those for a power play point. Wyatt Johnston minus 125 for a point. And Dallas Stars on the money line. What do you got?
Yeah, you just went so deep into this game, gave it a lot of justice. This is a huge matchup, and I'm really not going to do that. The Kings and the Stars played once this year. It was in LA. The Kings won 3-2. It's really simple for me. The Kings are at home, and I'm going to trust them at home with my life. So Kings money line. We're done here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This is the real game that we're like completely against each other, right? All right. Well, yeah. All right. Fair enough. I think you're wrong, but that's fine. All right. Moving on to our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. Up to 50% off is their current sale. Many cards up to 50% off. And with our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off of regular priced and sales price items. That's right. Up to 60% off select cards with our promo code Sports Addict. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. Also, big shout out Total Apex Sports for having us on board. TotalApex.com. TotalApexSports.com has you covered with fantasy, DFS, betting, just overall coverage. Great content right now with football, basketball, baseball, and beyond. Andre, what is your best bet on this Friday night in the NHL?
As tempting as it is to double dip on the Kings after Wednesday's rousing success, I am going to avoid it for your sanity. Instead, I'm going to go to the game that you don't want to think about at all, because I really love that under 6.5 I'm seeing. Having a minus 130, and I don't think there's any way that an offense is 31st in scoring and an offense is 29th in scoring are going to combine for 6.5 goals, 7 goals, whatever. You look at their previous meetings, like I said earlier, their last 7, I'm looking at the entirely wrong game. Only one of those went over, and it required a shootout. Actually, it was their last 8, which is even better. So they're already playing low-scoring games. The offense has sucked this year. They've played twice this year. They were both 3-2. Why is it 6.5? And I guess they're bad defensively too. But that clearly hasn't won out in 2 meetings this year. That clearly hasn't won out in the past couple of years where every game's had 6 or fewer goals. Under 6.5, Chicago, Nashville, minus 130. I'm locking it up.
Oh, man, you're already going to beat me. I can tell the odds on FanDuel for that under, because it was 5.5, and it literally, while you were talking, switched to 6.5. And it's not great, but that's okay. We'll move on. It's a parlay, so it's all good. It all blends together. And I did catch that you said they are 31st in the league in scoring. I love that. I think we should incorporate that more. All right, moving on. There's a lot that I actually like on a 5-game slate. I love the Rangers minus 1.5. I feel like that might be a family play coming. I love the under in Winnipeg. I love the over in Colorado, Edmonton. I love Wyatt Johnston 1+ point. That's one of my favorite bets of the night. I think we'll just keep it simple here. Under Islanders, Winnipeg, under 5.5 at minus 120. We laid it out, I think, really well. Bottom line, Sorokin is one of the hottest goaltenders in the league in the year 2025. And Connor Hellebuck, need I say more? Under 5.5. I did say earlier, it worries me that this under is way too obvious, but I'm taking it anyway. And I am here for it. Both teams, specifically Winnipeg, both teams have played really well defensively lately. And so I like the under in Winnipeg Islanders minus 120, under 5.5. All right, family play. Rangers, I know it's your boys.
Let's do it. We're
doing it. All right. Rangers minus 1.5 at plus 118. 1:15. I'll go first because I'm pretty sure that I've lost. Under 6.5, -142 for Nashville and Chicago. -120 is the under 5.5 in Isles Jets. -1.5 for Rangers against the Penguins. +118. That's +581 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so I do have you beat on every individual leg. I have Rangers puck line at +124, Jets Islanders under at -118, Predators Blackhawks under at -130, and I have that at +632 as a parlay.
Absolutely love it, man. Good for you. Congratulations. You deserved it. Those are our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. All right. Now the moment that we've all been waiting for. Enough hockey for one day. It is the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs in New Orleans, Nolans, as I've heard it pronounced over the last couple weeks. Don't know which one's correct. Not my business. But it is the Super Bowl, man. And football, it's your thing. You cover the NFL. You have covered the NFL. You are very knowledgeable when it comes to the NFL. I also know that you hate the Eagles. So we'll see if I agree with anything that you have to say. I got lots of thoughts on this game, lots of bets on this game. I joked with you before that I may be more prepared for this segment than I have been for any of our actual shows in the last month, which is not good by me. But Andre, what do you got, man? Super Bowl, whatever it is, Eagles, Chiefs. What do you got, bro?
Yeah. So what I always do for the Super Bowl, well, first thing I always do is rack up free bets so that my Super Bowl ends up being a free day. But first two bets I always place, right? Will there be an octopus? Yes. I did bet on the octopus this year because, of course, I did. For those that don't know, that's a player getting a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Now, you might be saying I'm just a lunatic that loves doing crazy things, and that's true. For the Super Bowl, I bet on all sorts of outlandish stuff. But the last time these teams met in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts scored a touchdown. Jalen Hurts scored a 2-point conversion. The octopus hit.
Yep.
Easy money. I'm pulling up the odds now. I had to unlock my phone. That's why I'm stalling just a little bit. The octopus this year is plus 1,300 for a yes. So I do like that. It's really, that's like low-key an Eagles bet because they're much more likely to just have Saquon or Hurts jam it in and then just give it to him again for the 2-point conversion. But as you see, 2-point conversions are a lot more common this year, and anybody can happen. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Say Kelsey gets a touchdown catch and then the 2-point conversion. It's a lot of people that can happen too. So that's one I love. And not only because it's an octopus and it's awesome, but because especially within Eagles games, it's a genuine possibility of it happening. Glory be to the tush push when it comes to betting. The other thing I always bet on, and this is completely a joke and you don't have to do this at all, is a doink. It's any kick to hit the uprights. I just love that it's a thing. And it's only a thing for the Super Bowl. So those are my two weird props that I will bestow upon you. When it comes to the game itself, these are really good teams. So It was really hard. The obvious out of the way, right? It was really hard looking at, just the matchups and the numbers because there's not many holes. You could probably look at this game and say the Chiefs' offense is the weakest unit in this game, as unbelievable as that is. But one, they got shut out the last week of the season. That really drags down a lot of their averages, production, whatever. It's miscuing. They've played a lot better towards the tail end of that year. Obviously, they put up 32 against Buffalo to get here. They put up 23 against a good Texans defense to get to the AFC Championship game. They're playing really well. It seems like they have new life. It kind of coincides with Marquise Brown joining the lineup. And he, I'm not going to pretend like he's the top guy in this game by any means. but he might be the difference maker. You know, the Chiefs, I mean, not the Chiefs, the Eagles have a lot of guys in that secondary uh, that are very capable of making plays, but, you know, someone has to be on D-Hop, someone has to be on Worthy. Travis Kelsey needs the extra attention. And where does that leave an experienced speedster who can get open underneath, who can beat you over the top? Uh, doesn't have the steadiest hands in the world, but he's been better this year, and he's playing with Patrick freaking Mahomes. It's his first Super Bowl. Marquise Brown might be a guy to watch in this game if you're looking for a prop. He might be the one that very quietly makes things happen, and you can get him 40 plus yards at minus 133. You can get him 4 plus receptions at minus 134. So he's a guy that, you know, I'm kind of taking a look at as far as playing well in this game. The very obvious for the Eagles, Saquon Barkley's the guy. The Chiefs are going to throw extra at him. They're going to try to slow him down. Spagnuolo is a great defensive coordinator. I don't think you can fully slow him down. I think you can put the Eagles in enough positions where they have to throw the ball, which is where the Chiefs will win the game. But I don't think you're going to slow down or stop Saquon entirely. So obviously he's the guy. If you're not going to go Saquon, I think Dallas Goedert might be the one who, you know, sparks and provides the offense that the Eagles need if they do come out on top.
Absolutely love it, man. Absolutely love it. I when it comes to props, so hold on. So okay, we'll go back at the end because we got to get your actual prediction here of who you think's going to win. But we'll get to
Chiefs.
the Chiefs.
I thought it was pretty obvious. It's the Chiefs.
Okay.
I support three P's here.
All right, you got a score?
Am I going to score? Oh, you want like a full score prediction?
Yeah, I don't need to know your personal life.
It's putting a lot of heat on me talking about my personal life like that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put this one at. I'm gonna put this one at 26-24 Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think that's right. If you think the Chiefs are going to win, I know this has been a really common kind of narrative, and I don't disagree. I think if the Eagles win, I think it has to be somewhat convincingly. And if the Chiefs win, I do think it's going to be a closer scoring game. Listen, I've had a lot of people, and what I'm going to say to you is not something you can't hear on other shows. I am an Eagles fan, but I watch football from 1 o'clock to 1 in the morning, from 1 o'clock to 1 o'clock every Sunday. You know what? With the amount of sports I watch, it's amazing that my wife thinks I'm a good father. At least she says she does. I don't know. But this is not a surprise to anybody. The Chiefs the Eagles, first of all, have the better roster. I don't think that's even really a question. They have better receivers, better O-line, better D-line, better defense as a whole, better running back, all that. I think, Dallas Goedert and Travis Kelsey. Obviously, Travis Kelsey has that ability to, break the game open. Where he's at in his career, I wouldn't say he's by far and away the best tight end, in this game. Clearly, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best tight ends of all time. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying right now in his career, I don't know if he's by far and away better than Dallas Goedert. Like Travis Kelsey is I don't know enough about cars to make this analogy work, but a really nice old school car. He's in the garage, the cover's over him, and every once in a while they pull it out and he goes for 120. You know what I mean? But the Eagles have the better roster. The one thing the two things the Eagles don't have the better of is the quarterback and the coach, which are two really important things. Patrick Mahomes and Coach Andy Reid. So as far as I'll share what I think about that at the end, I'm staying away a little bit from props. I do like AJ Brown 70 plus yards is minus 108. which I think is really, really good value for him for 70 plus yards. 70 plus yards minus 108. If you look over the course of almost every Eagles game ever, that number is way higher than that. Like, it's way more juice than that. So minus 108, 70 plus yards, I really like. Again, AJ Brown, 6 plus receptions is plus 114. I think they're going to try to get him the ball a lot. Other than that, I feel like the Super Bowl, everything's out the window, man. No? Like, it just feels like it's the last game of the year and you're going to throw whatever you can, whatever the team's not expecting, all that stuff. I do really like Saquon Barkley, 169 yards would be is it the Super Bowl record or the playoff record for 169? It's probably Super Bowl, right?
I think that's the single season, like regular season plus postseason. You're talking about the rushing record, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's for just a whole like record.
Yeah, so that's like 16 games plus.
Gotcha.
Whatever. The Super Bowl record is 204.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Timmy Smith, Washington.
Okay. So, oh yeah, good old Tibby. So if he hits 169 rushing yards, that's just the overall record. That's plus 500. Now, I don't think Kansas City can stop Saquon. Are they going to be able to not stop him to the tune of over 170 yards? I don't know. But we're seeing this guy break like 60-yard touchdown runs every single week, man. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they have a good defense. Their run defense is okay. But I expect him to have a really big day. Will he hit 169 plus? I don't know, but that's a fun one at plus 500. Each team to get a TD and a field goal in each half is plus 1,400, which I really like that one. I do think each team in the first half is going to be filling each other out. This hit in the in their matchup a couple years ago, right? This bet hit plus 1,400 for a field goal and a touchdown in each half. Hurts and Mahomes for 15 plus pass yards each in each quarter is minus 105. I think that's a really good value as well. A couple other ones I like. Eagles plus 7.5 and the under 55 is minus 140. Now, minus 140, it's a little bit juicy, but plus 7.5 under 5 and under 55 yards, or under 55 total points. I do think if the Chiefs win, I think it's going to be a really close game. And I can see that total going under. I will say that bet and the one I'm going to say after it, you can find combined the Ringer special on FanDuel. They have like Ringer specials or whatever. So there's that. This is one for you, all right? This is one for you. What are you laughing at over there? Can I help you?
One, I was laughing in preparation what you're about to say. Two, I'm staring at a prop about what the Super Bowl MVP is going to say first in their speech. So,
that's funny.
That's
funny. Yeah, Jordan, I know, bro. We talking the Chiefs on the 3P. I know. This guy, but this is the thing though, man. I can't take you guys. Y'all freaking you all hate the Eagles. So what am I gonna say? Although, anyway, this is for you guys. Tell me this hit in the first game. For those of you who watch or listen to the Bill Simmons podcast, I'm not even going to pretend I came up with this on my own, but I heard it and I loved, because this is the thing. I'm an Eagles fan. So yes, I'm going to lay bets on the Eagles winning. Absolutely I am. But I don't want to lose a bunch of money and lose the Super Bowl. So I'm going to hedge a little bit the other way. Eagles to win the first half, Chiefs to win the game, plus 700. And this hit the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I like that one a lot. If the Chiefs win. Eagles halftime, Chiefs game plus 700. I'm also going to put some on the Chiefs money line, minus 116. Again, I'm hedging. I do want to know your honest, non-Giants fan opinion about this, okay? And this is what I'm kind of building up to. I want to know your opinion about this. If the Eagles win on Sunday, do you think it'll be a borderline blowout? And I'm not talking by like 20 points, but the general feeling is if the Eagles are up by 3 points with 3 minutes left, or up by 2 points with 3 minutes left, then they've lost, right? Do you feel like if the Eagles win, it's going to be by a touchdown, 10 points or more?
I get what you're saying. I feel like, it has to, because the Chiefs in a tight game, you already lost. Like, I completely get what you're saying. And then you look at the Super Bowl that this era of Kansas City football did lose. It was a blowout. They lost by 22. They got dominated in the trenches. That's the key for the Eagles. A bunch of guys were banged up. Not saying it's going to happen again for Kansas City, but it was just they got outmatched. They got outclassed. They got snuffed out, to put it mildly. They didn't really have a chance to breathe and get back in the game. Obviously, if the Eagles do that, they're going to win. I don't think they need to do that, though. The Eagles have a dominant rushing attack and dominant receivers. If they're trailing late, they have the playmakers to go down and get the lead and come back and win. If they have a lead late, they need to get a first down to milk the clock. They have Saquon freaking Barkley. They signed him for a reason. That would suck. But they don't need to blow them out to win this game. We saw the greatest team of all time lose the Super Bowl by a field goal, talking about the New England Patriots in 2007. Yes, you would think a close game favors the Chiefs, but the Eagles have a ton of talent. The Eagles aren't here by accident. The Eagles are great on both sides of the ball. The Eagles can get the stop if they need to. The Eagles can get the first down if they need to. The Eagles can get the touchdown if they need to. I think maybe if you're coming down to a last-second field goal with, the pressure for Philly's kicker, with the way that Kansas City has blocked kicks this year, maybe that gets a little hairy. But I think most other situations, there's no reason why the Eagles need to make it a blowout to win.
Yeah, and I mean, there are many, many years where Jake Elliott was just a lock from wherever he was kicking from on the field. That's not the case this year. He's been missing kicks left, right, and center. So quite literally left, right. You can't miss him center, but you know what I mean. Because the reason why I asked that is because I was looking at this today, and for the Eagles to win on the money lines, minus 102, plus 1.5 is minus 115. And if you're looking at it on the other side, minus 2.5 for the Eagles, plus 120. And you're going to laugh at me. I promise you, this is not some Eagles fandom. Like, this is, I've heard this other places. So people are going to, yeah, you're an Eagles fan. I'm just saying, if you think, because I'm not the only one with this theory, if you think the Eagles win, they have to win big. If you're of that mindset, minus 2.5 for Eagles is plus 120, minus 3.5 plus 158, and I'm just gonna keep going up here. 4.5 plus 182, plus 200, plus 230, plus 290 for minus 7.5, plus 290. And then even higher, 8.5, 330, 9.5, 350, 10.5, 420. If you're of the mindset that the Eagles have to win big, like over 10 points, plus 350, minus 9.5. I love that bet. Now, if you're just joining us and you know this program and you know that I'm an Eagles fan, minus 9.5. Also, no, I'm also taking Eagles to win the first half, Chiefs to win the game. And I'm also I'm like hedging myself as much as I possibly can here. But I would say that Eagles plus 7.5 under and the under is minus 140. That's probably my favorite all around, like, nobody gets hurt bet. You know what I mean? Like, if the Eagles win, then they cover the plus 7.5. And if they lose, then at least I got, whatever. I really do like Eagles halftime Chiefs game. But I think I really do like Eagles. And this is where I'm coming from now. Get down to the brass taxes. I love Eagles minus 4.5 plus 182. I think that's a good. I think the Eagles are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it by at least a touchdown. I just do. I think that this defense is, when the Chiefs beat the Eagles before, Jalen Hurts and the boys put up a ton of points, and I'm fairly certain that was the literal worst defensive performance in the history of the Super Bowl that the Eagles put up that day. I'm fairly certain of that. So they have a much better defense. Uncle Vicky Fangio runs the show. I like where this Eagles team is at, and I think that they win by a touchdown, but save myself a little bit. Minus 4.5 is plus 182, and I love that bet for this game.
I will say, Mark, just to be somewhat kind, I am happy for you. Your team is in the Super Bowl. That's huge.
Thank you.
You're nervous, you're excited, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you. Genuinely am. I'm happy for Saquon Barkley as well. But I hope you guys have a miserable Sunday. I can't wait to see this guy down on Sunday. It's going to be a great game, though. I'm very excited. It kind of sucks that it's a rematch between two very unlikable teams. At the same time, it's going to be great football, and it's history against, if you're denying history, I guess it's just history on the line, but against a city that is going to burn one way or the other. So it's going to be a good one. It's worth watching.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. The other historical fact that I don't think has any relevance, but as a fan, you find things to hold on to. When the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, they stopped a three-peat. And here we are, all those years later, trying to do it again. So I'm here for it. Yeah, it's going to be a great game. And as an Eagles fan, I'm obviously really looking forward to it. And it's weird, dude. I had people ask me, are you nervous? And it's honestly, so trying to lay out good bets, trying to make people money, trying to make money myself. You know what I mean? I'm not just throwing cash to the wind because I'm an Eagles fan. We do this show every day talking about the NHL. And as you know, I try to be super objective when it comes to the league, when it comes to the Leafs. Sometimes I'm so objective on the Leafs that it goes the other way, and I don't give them enough credit for how good they actually are. When it comes to this game, bro, I find myself applying that, objectiveness. And as of Friday, screw it, man. Eagles by 1 million. I'm not nervous. I'm throwing caution to the wind, and I'm just letting myself believe it. And if my heart breaks, my heart breaks. But here we are. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it so much. If you joined us for the Super Bowl part of this show and you want some excellent top-notch hockey knowledge, please go back to the beginning and watch the rest. We appreciate it. If you're watching on Total Apex Media, we appreciate you. Head over to Pucks Across Borders YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. And the other way around, go to Total Apex Media on X, give them a like and a follow. First Round Collectibles, promo code SportsAddict, 10% off your order. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday.